Hey guys, I had a few people express concerns to me about the questions on the homework that I assigned on Monday the 7th, so I thought I'd work a few of them in a screencast to maybe help you out. So the first one I'll work is number 27. I get square root of negative 10. This is going to turn out to be negative 10 in parentheses to the 1/2. A lot of people got thrown off by the negative. Just make sure that it's in the parentheses and you're good to go. 28. You'll notice 28, 29, and 30 are similar, and they're that way on purpose so that you see the subtle differences in the way stuff is written. This is square root of 7x to the third. So I'm going to do this as 7 to the first times x to the third. Both of these are to the 1/2 power. Now I will distribute my 1/2 power, and I get 7 to the 1/2 times x to the 3/2. Number 29, I have square root of 7x cubed. So I can think of this as, what I would choose to do here is distribute this 3. So this is going to be 7 cubed times x cubed, both of those to the 1/2 because the square root becomes the 1/2 power. Then I distribute the 1/2 and I get 7 to the 3/2 times x to the 3/2. Next is number 30. I get square root, or grouping symbol, square root of 7x to the third power. If I think of the inside as 7x to the 1/2, and then outside that I have a third power. Now I can multiply my two powers here, so this is 7x to the 3/2, and then I distribute the 3/2 and I get 7 to the 3/2 x to the 3/2. Number 31 is a little bit more straightforward. I think you'll find the variable problems tend to be a little bit more straightforward. So I have cube root of a squared, and that's just going to be a to the 2/3. 32. I have cube root of a, and then that quantity is squared. So I'm going to think of this as a to the 1/3 squared, multiply my two powers, and I get a to the 2/3. So I get the same answer, but just by a different path. 33. I have the 4th root of c squared, and that's going to be c to the 2/4, which 2/4 simplifies to c to the 1/2. In 34 I'll have to do on another page because it is rather lengthy. So then we go to 34, and I have cube root of 5xy in parentheses to the 6th. So I'm going to distribute this 6 and make this cube root a 1/3 power. So I get 5 to the 6th times x to the 6th times y to the 6th, all of that to the 1/3 power. Now I have to distribute this 1/3 to all of these 6's. So I get 5 to the 6/3 times x to the 6/3 and times y to the 6/3. Now all of these reduce, So I get 5 squared, which is 25, x squared, y squared. And you could leave this as 5 to the second power. That wouldn't be a problem. So that takes care of writing everything in exponential form. Then it asks us to find each product or quotient. As I look at those problems, I don't see anything that we didn't cover in class, so those should be okay. And then I'll work 55, 56, 57, 58. So 55, I'm given x to the 2/3 to the -3. I multiply my exponents, so this actually comes out to be x to the -2, which I will reciprocate and get 1 over x squared. So there's my answer. Number 56, I have x to the -4 over 7. That's raised to the 7th power. Just like in this example where the 3's are going to help cancel each other out because they're inverses, the 7's do the same thing. So this is x to the -4, which is 1 over x to the 4th. 57. I have 3x to the 2/3. That's being raised to the -1. A lot of people don't realize this, but this 2/3 power only corresponds with the x. It does not belong to the 3. That's why I tell people to always make sure that everything has an exponent before you begin. So the first thing I would do is I would rewrite this as 3 to the 1st times x to the 2/3. That's raised to the -1. So now when I distribute this -1 exponent, I get 3 to the -1 times 2/3 to the -1, which is just x to the 2/3. And then the only thing that I need to reciprocate is this 3. So this ends up being x to the 2/3 over 3. And last one is number 58. I have 5 times x to the 2/3 to the -1. A lot of people are going to want to apply this -1 to the 5, but this -1 only applies to the parentheses. So this is going to be 5 times x to the -2/3. Now I want to make this exponent positive, so I'm going to move just the x down with the 2/3. So I get 5 over x to the 2/3. I could rewrite these in I could rewrite these in radical form. So this one up here would be, or I could have cube root of x squared over 3. And down here I could have or 5 open, it's going to be cube root of x squared again. Okay, and we'll talk about simplifying this maybe more later, but that's where we are right now. So if you got to this point, I'll be happy. We can add a point on after the fact. So there you go.